again, they're all motivated by.
她是第一位飞上太空的西语裔女性，管过 NASA 最硬核的太空中心。但她把怎么带人浓缩成2句话，短到你听一次就忘不掉。Alan Ocol 上过4次太空梭，在轨道待了近缺小时，后来当上 NASA 詹森太空中心主任，那是管数千名工程师决定太空人生死的位置。他讲领导的分量不在头衔，而在他真的签过这套能不能飞的名。这场 Stanford E-Corner 对谈值得现在听，是因为他把航太业零容错环境里最初的管理原则翻成任何团队都能用的白话。先听他怎么定义领导的第一优先。
Space Center, and again, they're all motivated by, we have a common mission and a common objective, and we're going to work towards that. I think as a leader, you really have 2 main goals, and I will say I learned this from some of the Marines in the astronaut office. Accomplish the mission, take care of your people. It's pretty simple. Now, it's not always simple to do,
No.
but your priorities are pretty simple. And one of my Marine friends said, yeah, most times there's like 3 things you're supposed to do, but we're Marines, so there's.
他说，领导其实只有2个目标：完成任务，照顾你的人。而且这是跟太空人办公室里的陆战队员学的。重点在于他把顺序讲死了，先是任务，再是人，2件事，而不是3件。这在管理上很关键。因为多数人加重在想讨好每个人跟只顾冲 KPI 2个极端。我的观点是，这句话真正狠的地方是他把照顾人从福利升级成任务的一部分。你的人垮了，任务也保不住。这不是温情，是把人当成任务能不能达成的变数在算。接下来这段背后是哥伦比亚号的教选。
They need to understand it's absolutely their responsibility to speak up.
Yeah.
Like it's not an option not to speak up. If you have a question, if you think the conclusion that's being reached isn't supported by the data, you have a responsibility to speak up. So a lot of it has to do with not only safety, but integrity of, really following the data, trying to understand if we are appropriately sort of taking care.
他讲安全文化，当你觉得结论撑不起数据时，发生不是可以选择做的事，而是你的责任，是义务。这段沉重，因为他站在哥伦比亚号失事7名太空人罹难的背景上，当年就是有人心里有疑虑，却没能有效说出口。它的意义远超航太，任何组织出大事，事后几乎都能找到，其实有人早就看出来了。我的观点是，多数公司口号喊欢迎，提出不同意见，但那是把发声当恩惠，当勇气。他做的是把它重新定义成不说才是失职，当沉默变成渎职，权力天平才真的翻过来。最后，他给20岁的自己一句话。
Certainly learned a couple of things there. In some ways you learn what not to do or who you should listen to. So I would say the overall piece of advice is find your support people, because you will run into people who are going to try to tell you you can't do what you want to do. And you have to be able to sort of tell the difference between what is constructive criticism that you can learn from and build on, and what are people just sort of showing their own internal biases. So I'll just give you a couple stories.
如果重来一次，他的建议是找到支持你的人，并且练就一把尺，分辨哪些是能让你成长的建设性批评，哪些只是对方在投射他自己的偏见。他提到可能会一路遇到告诉你办不到的人，这对每个在场的人都有共鸣。我的观点是，这句话真正的资讯量不在找支持你的人，而在后半因为打击你的人里混住真心点你的贵人和纯粹的偏见。你要活下去，又不能因此对所有批评免疫。分辨这2者的能力本身就是一种稀缺技能，比找到谁挺你更难，也更值钱。把3段串起来，你会发现他讲的不是太空领导学，而是一套高风险环境的生存法则。任务跟人绑在一起算，沉默要当成失职，批评要过筛再吸收，这些在生死攸关的地方被逼出来的原则， 搬回日常反而更划算，因为多数人是在没有立即代价的环境里，慢慢养出多一事不如少一事的习惯。与其问怎么当个好主管，不如问如果每个决定都可能出人命，我今天还会这样闭嘴吗？领导的智慧常常是在最没有退路的地方长出来的。以上为资讯整理与观点分享，非任何投资或职涯建议。喜欢这种拆解，记得订阅大人物开讲。想看更多大人物的白话拆解，记得订阅，也可以到 /invest 看整理。